up, though? This is your boy, LArkins. I need you to come check out what's trending right now. I'm originally from Detroit, born and raised West Side, Cooley High till I die. Left Detroit when I was 18, joined the U.S. Air Force, spent 4 years in the U.S. Air Force. I moved back to Detroit for about 6 months. Then I moved to Atlanta in '93. So from '93 until about 8 months ago, I lived in Atlanta. And I recently made LA my home. My hood was extremely dangerous, and growing up in it, we didn't even know how dangerous it was. I didn't know how bad Detroit was till I left and joined the service. Look back like, wow, that's what we grew up in. Like, I don't know how my parents even let us leave the house half the time. That's how, not even my hood, just Detroit itself is pretty bad. At least in the 80s, it was, I think it's better now than it was in the 80s. But going to the military gave me an opportunity to see where I was from the outside view. I met so many different people. I met, people who had different philosophies. My supervisor was a super Christian redneck. So I never even really had been around white folks till I turned 18. So just the experience there was good. I served 4 months in Desert Storm over in Saudi Arabia, so that was an experience. But when I got out, it was a situation where I had got in some trouble for something I didn't even do. Long story short, a friend of mine wound up stealing my identification. Another friend's checkbook wrote all these checks with my name on it, and I got in trouble. And nobody believed that I didn't write these checks. So in the military, writing bad checks is no joke. They do not play that bad check shit. So I was cutting grass in San Antonio in the summertime for 3 months. So that was a horrible experience. But the guy winds up robbing a pawn shop, shot and killed the owner. The owner's wife shot him, and he had to go to jail. I think he's just now getting out, but he admitted to everything. So no apologies, just yeah, you can leave. So I was supposed to re-enlist, but I just left. The day I got out, I left my uniform, everything in that locker. I went home. I was like, fuck them. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise. My mother, I was always afraid of disappointing my mother. I've never been I've never been a follower. I'm not necessarily a leader, but I'm not a follower. I like to do my own thing. And all my friends sold. Everybody in my neighborhood sold dope. Everybody sold dope. I don't even know, it was more niggas selling it than using it. Like, how y'all making some money out here? But they all did it, and I never did. I never sold dope. I never smoked weed. I would drink occasionally, and that's just who I am. I'm not easily influenced like that. So my mother looks back like, you was wild. I was like, you have no idea. I was lame as hell. I never thought about comedy. Like, I wasn't the typical class clown, and it never really crossed my mind. I was working at Macy's at the time, and I actually been to a comedy club a few times in Atlanta, Uptown Comedy Corner, and me and some coworkers had gone into the comedy club one night, and this comedian was killing. I mean, he was killing. His name was Jonathan Slocum, and I leaned over to my coworker. I was like, he funny, but he ain't that goddamn funny. I was like, I could do this shit. And I left the club that night, and I don't know, something clicked in my head. I went home that night, started writing jokes. And within 2 weeks, I had me a little 5-minute set, and I came back to the club 2 weeks later. First person I ever met in comedy was a comedian named Hurricane. And I said, where can I do comedy? And he was like, come to this place called Teddy's Live. It's in the underground, Atlanta. Come down there tomorrow night. A guy named Ray Grant, he was hosting. So I came back the next night, signed my name on the list, and I was petrified. I mean, I thought I was gonna swallow my tongue. But you know, once they call your name, like ain't no going back. So they called my name, I went up there, and I actually did decent the first time I went on. So I did pretty good. And that's when the bug started. My mother always supported what I did. And it was times as a 30-something when I needed to borrow some money from my mother just to pursue my dream. And my mother was always on, you know, she didn't care. So she always was my backbone. I would say maybe a couple things. Being able to purchase a home by doing comedy was huge for me. So I think it was in 2009. It got foreclosed on about 4 years later, but it was still a huge accomplishment in my life regardless. And I think moving to LA, basically dropping everything in Atlanta my whole life, because I lived a very, for me, a pretty comfortable life, just be on the road and do a stand-up. And then, you know, I got the opportunity here. There was no guarantees to work on the show out here. Just, you know, Cedric had approached me with this opportunity, saying, you know, I have a show called The Neighborhood, got greenlit on CBS. I think you'd be good for it. So yeah, he was drunk as hell that night, so I hit him the next day. I said, you know what you said last night, right? He's like, yeah. And so the show had already started, and he hadn't contacted me, so I hit him up. I was like, so what's the deal? I thought, you know, we had this thing. He was like, yeah, basically don't have any money, but I can get you in the room, you prove yourself, we'll see what happens. So I said, I'll be there Monday. And I flew to LA, he got me in there, I didn't know anybody, I didn't know nothing about writing for a network, and then this ain't Bounce TV, this is CBS. This is as high a level as you can get. And for me to go from doing, just writing stuff for myself to this was a whole different world. I have a show idea that I created called D-Boys, which is kind of a funny version of The Wire. And that's still my baby, that's still my goals to get that on the network. Now you're talking about my shirt.
Yes, I'm talking about the shirt.
First of all,
you don't like the shirt.
First of all, this is not pink. It is pink. This is a mauve, okay? It's a salmon.
First of all,
I got from Express, and I like the shirt because it's sexy.
You nailed that. If you want to be sexy, you nailed it. You come here with a sexy ass shirt on, a little bitty Beyonce, Rihanna, Justin Timberlake ass pistol, and now you ready to go to war.
Create another show called Off the Chains, and it's basically it's a reality show on a slave plantation in the 1800s. So it's wild, and people are like, what the hell is this?
And my thing was not to make fun of slavery. That was never my intent. I'm dead serious, like, but people not gonna see it like that. They only gonna see it how they want to see it. We have characters on the show. Basically, it's a reality show shot on a slave plantation in the 1800s. This broke ass plantation owner who owns a rutabaga plantation in Georgia, and he's going broke. He gets his slaves off clearance because he don't really have no money. The slaves only talk like slaves when the white people are around. Other than that, they talk like we talking right now. They break the fourth wall. They talk to the camera. They do confessionals.
Are you tired of the beatings?
We get beatings sometimes, it's fine, I do it. You know, it's a great place though. This is the Jackson Plantation Farm.
They generally don't beat on Sundays, so they breaking all the rules out here.
It's funny, we have a character named H. Tubbs. So she's a fake Harriet Tubman. She goes around to all the plantations. She runs a freedom pyramid scam. And get around all the plantations in the South.
Now just follow H. Tubbs.
Who here wants to be free? Don't we all? Don't we all?
She will lead you to freedom.
She'll promise to get you to Kentucky, like, it's still fucking slavery country. I need to get to Canada. My character basically was 12 years later. I was doing Othello on Broadway in New York, and I got stolen down to the plantation, so I have a British accent the entire time my character does.
I'll give you $1.50.
$1.50?
Oh, no.
I studied at Cambridge. Shut up. 2 hours of this labor is too much for me. It's back-breaking work.
The son of the plantation owner thinks he's black, so he's always out in the fields picking the rutabagas because he thinks he's black, and his father's like, you're not a slave, you're not black, get your ass back in the house.
I mean, they're like my best friends. I love these guys, you know? This is our one chance to, you know, get away from massa and be free.
You mean your father?
So it's just ridiculous, but people just didn't see it like that. Like they were, the reviews we got were upsetting. So I don't know if I don't know if I'm pursuing that one.
Find out what happens on Off the Chains.
I'm gonna call you Kiki. Wouldn't that be fun, Ernie?
Be prepared to get out your comfort zone. You gotta get uncomfortable to get comfortable. And like I said, I was deep in my comfort zone in Atlanta for 20-something years, 23 years. And I dropped it because I knew I had done everything I could do in Atlanta. And so I had to get out of my comfort zone. I had to come out here. And I'm not even as uncomfortable as most comedians who come out to LA. Like, it's some people sleeping in cars for real to make it. I didn't even have to go to that point. I mean, it was uncomfortable for me, you know, to crash on somebody's couch. But you gotta be prepared to be uncomfortable. Most of your success stories, people they had to be uncomfortable. And if you ain't prepared to get out of that comfort zone, then you probably ain't gonna make it. You gotta take a couple steps back and humble yourself. Do whatever it takes. Hopefully, and we're working on a good show, The Neighborhood on CBS. We just got picked up for a second season. And we got picked up before this season even ended, which is unheard of, from what I understand. So let's hope we have a good run with this last for 5-6 seasons. And I learn and pick up as much as I possibly can in this business, from writing to acting, editing, directing, casting. I want to learn the whole nine. And again, I want my own show on television. So the next 5 years to see my own project. I don't even have to be in it, just to see created by on that screen. That's the ultimate goal. Yo, this is Sean LArkins. I need you to come check out what's trending. Wow, where the cocaine at, man? God damn.